Good evening, it's 5:30. This is a special meeting, working session of the City Commission. It's February 11th, 2025. We are in the Veterans Conference Room of Mandan City Hall. Mr. Ubar, can you please take the roll call?
Commissioners, Heinchan,
Here.
Rohr,
Here.
Schoberg, Braun,
Here.
Mayor Freilich.
Here. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and Amy lead us.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. We have the agenda. We have no announcements. The agenda is before you.
I move that we approve tonight's agenda for February 11th for the study session.
A motion by Commissioner Rohr, a second by Commissioner Braun. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioners, Heinchan,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Rohr,
Yes.
Mayor Freilich.
Yes. Okay, new business. Long-term financial planning, assessing. Kimberly?
Yep, good evening, everyone. On my long-term planning, I have a vehicle replacement at some point.
Get the screen share up going.
Okay. Thank you. You're ready for me?
We're ready.
Okay. We have two vehicles in our office that we use. One of them is over 100,000 miles. So far, it's not so, but at some point, we're gonna have to replace that. The other thing that I'm planning for that I'd like to see happen is adding a part-time position. And currently, we have four full-time employees and one that comes in and helps in the summer that helps us with our zone review. And the zone review is when we take a portion of the city and go out and actually knock on doors and make sure all of our data is correct. We do have one of our full-time people that is planning to retire probably next year. And what I'd like to do is create a permanent part-time position and use that retiring person. That person has a lot of commercial experience. And one of the benefits is that we haven't had to contract with like Vanguard Appraisals to come in and help with that commercial properties. One of the last times that I had to do that, we did 5 or 6 properties and it cost $5,500 to have them come in and do that. And since this appraiser has been here, we've been able to do a lot of those harder commercial properties on our own. So that's a benefit. The other thing that this person I'd like them to help with is, we've talked about this, primary residence and veterans exemptions that come in. Like I told you a few months ago, we went from 330 applications up to 717. That was the count I had in November. That count has gone up quite a bit since then, even people coming in and applying for the past years. On our zone review, it was before I started in 2018, the city had set up that we would do our zone review, get through the whole city in 7 years. That's not happening. At our current rate, it would take us about 12.5 years to get through the whole city with the current staff. So those are some of the kind of the things that I've been looking at and hoping that a part-time person could help us with. And that's all I have for you.
Mayor Kimberly, what has been the growth of your staff, let's say, over the last 5 years? Like where were you 5 years ago, 8 years ago? How have you been able to grow your
Right,
staff?
just the seasonal summertime help is the only thing that we've added since I've started.
Oh, so you
Right.
haven't had that, no person has been added in the last 5 years?
I think we've had a summertime position for 3 years. I think. Yes, 3 years.
And of course, you know, probably bring the board up. These tax abatement things, when they add on to, if you had staff onto that, what would happen if the state all says, well, we're not doing that anymore? You cut back or you just replace them in other positions?
I can't say what, you know, I don't foresee that happening, those homestead credits going away. But I would definitely, I mean, if that's something that went away, it would have to be reevaluated, definitely.
Okay. Thank you.
Typically, what happens during the zone review? How do you use that data?
That is what, the zone review, we're going and making sure all of our data is correct. So we're measuring houses, make sure we have the right square footage, making sure that I mean, we've had some too where we had too much and we had to correct it. So it's making sure our assessments are fair and equal and making sure our data keeps up to date. So we mail out letters to the property owners and some of them will make appointments. Otherwise we go knock on the door and we leave a door hanger. If they're not there, we'll measure what we can. And some people will call back. Some people will just interview at the front door. Some will walk through the whole house, you know, making sure we have condition. All our measurements are correct, all that kind of stuff. And that's the basis for all of our assessments. So we need to continually be reviewing that to make sure the data is correct. I mean, in zone 1, we found somewhere we didn't have a garage, we didn't have an addition. Sometimes people will take basement finish out and not tell us. So there's just a variety of things that can change.
Just a little heard back in the 50s. They'd come around to our house and they'd ask if you had jewelry and if you had dogs, they'd count. We'd hide the dogs and hide the jewelry. I mean, they actually came in looking
Yeah.
for your dogs and jewelry.
When you had personal property.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I bet that was a fun job. I think just keeping track of the size of the house is a lot of work, let alone keeping track.
It's kind of an interesting way of doing that, but we did it.
Okay, any further questions?
Just one question on the vehicle, since we've had quite a few vehicle requests. Is there anything that you need in a vehicle? Can it be a sedan? Does it need to be for, you know, as a small SUV? Is there any specific things that you carry that prohibit you from using a sedan or a smaller vehicle?
I would say I would prefer to have at least one vehicle be good in the snow. But we could, you know, like when we're out doing zone review, I think we'd have enough room in the trunk or the back seat to, you know, to get at least, yeah, we could go that route if it's more economical. But I would prefer at least one of them be good in the winter time.
Thank you.
Yep.
We tried for a city look, right? As far as vehicles that people get used to seeing, all the.
We put like a logo on the windows.
If possible, we'll try and get white vehicles, less water treatment plant. Sometimes it's blue and sometimes wastewater treatment plant is.
I'm not picky in color. I just wanted to get me to the house and back.
I just think though that when you pull out, the residents should kind of get used to an official looking car.
That's a great idea.
Okay. Any further questions? The airport, Mr. Dumont?
I've given you all a copy of the CIP. For the airport was 2024 on it and after. If you look at, I know it's pretty hard, it's pretty small to read, but if you look at 2025 underneath the pink, those are all the projects for 2025 that will be happening this year. This list is ever changing, and from year to year, we move things up and down on it as the need arises. And, for 2025, everything underneath, item 2A is being moved down to 2026. So as of right now, we'd really like to purchase, anywhere from 150 to 200 horsepower, tractor to run our snow blower out at the airport. Right now, we lease a tractor from Case every winter, and depending on the hours that we put on it is what the cost comes to on that lease. This next year, there will be an airport mill and overlay of actually next year, I'm sorry, next year will be the design of the mill and overlay for the access road and parking lots. And then the following year would actually be the project itself. So that would be listed in 26, now moved down to 27. Oh, and the airport sign, we'd like to construct a new airport sign that I anticipate will probably be one of those items that just gets moved down because it's not an immediate need. Right now, we're more concerned about in 2026 getting the parking lot. Parking lot hasn't been paved since the 90s. So the parking lot is pretty awful out there. Another thing that isn't listed on the CIP that's just kind of come up in the last few months that I feel is probably going to become a problem in 2020. This sewer system at the airport is not acting right. It's overloaded, and we're going to need to do something about our drainage field and our septic tanks. The growth at the airport has been a lot for this sewer system and septic system to take. And I can see the effects of that even when I was plowing snow on Saturday night. I can see that there's water by the manholes. So something is backing up, something is going wrong, and now is not time that I'm going to be able to fix that, but I anticipate something is going to have to be done about it this summer, and something's going to have to be looked at. There's a lot of buildings out there that are running into the same sewer system and the same septic system, and I don't think it was ever designed for that much. And it's definitely something that's going to be added in the future to this list, just to let you know, Mayor and Commissioners. Any questions about 2026?
Are your funding sources pretty well determined, or you're not pretty ambiguous?
They're pretty well determined for not so much worried about funding sources in 2026. The FAA, we do get our entitlement from the FAA, and 2026 is the last year for the bill grant. It was a 5-year grant that we got from the FAA, an additional bipartisan infrastructure law.
Is that renewable?
No, it was a 5-year grant, and I'm not sure if they're going to redo another grant like that or not. There's been no word about that. So this will be 2026 will be the last year on that 5-year grant. They reevaluate that grant every year. We got 144,000 last year. Now it was reevaluated this year to 137,000. So we won't get as much this year, but the design of, or I'm sorry, next year, but the design of the mill and overlay isn't really extremely costly. So I'm not too worried about the shortfall on that project. And also, usually if we are able to fund a project at 90% with discretionary funding from the FAA, North Dakota Aeronautics will match that 5%. If it's non-eligible through the FAA for funding, Aeronautics has been really, really good to our airport. They're a big supporter of the Mandan Airport, and they usually will help us fund that project anywhere from 50 to 90%.
What's the status of the wetland issue you had?
I'd say they finished the lift station about a month and a half ago now, right before it got really cold. They finished putting the lift station in. None of the drainage tile has been installed yet, but that will all happen this summer. And it should be pumping by the end of the spring and bringing that water table down. But we're well on our way to getting it drained and mitigated. Finally. So over the, just some big projects over the next course of the next few years is, obviously the design for the mill and overlay is 2026. The actual construction of that would be in 2027. We do need to realign our taxiway, in, I believe it's 2028. That would be the design of the realignment. The construction of the realignment would be in 29. And hopefully by 30, we can start looking at land acquisition to do a 500-foot runway extension. If we can acquire the land on the south end of the runway, we can extend the runway and have larger aircraft be able to land at our airport and larger jets and things like that. So those are just some of the big projects.
What would that do for your economics?
Being able to bring in larger corporate aircraft into the airport. We can bring in jets right now, but they're more smaller citation jets. They hold about 6 to 7 people. If we were able to extend that runway, we could bring in much larger jets. Mostly corporate jets is what we're looking at. We could also entice Sanford to start maybe coming over and doing some of their medical flights that are runway, Sanford or any other med flights, Bismarck Air Medical possibly. Having a longer runway just brings in larger aircraft and hopefully more people to land here and bring their business to Mandan.
So how does that work if I want to land out there? Is that free? I just land?
Yes,
Is that normal? If I could, do I just land at Bismarck Airport?
yep, you could.
There's no fee associated with it?
No, publicly owned airport, you can land there, yep.
So if you have jets, excuse me. The Bismarck Tower. Guides them.
In Bismarck, they do, yeah. We're in Mandan, we're in uncontrolled airspace, so we have our own frequency. So as soon as you enter Mandan airspace, you need to frequency and let the radio and finding each other out there and getting each other in sight. But it's the Wild West in Mandan, kind of is what we like to say. There's no tower that controls us. We control each other and make sure we're talking to each other while we're out there. But Bismarck Airport, yes, you have to call into their tower before you can even enter their airspace. But with a runway extension and a larger airport, maybe someday we could have a tower too. Yep.
Lindsay, if you extend the runway to the south, that would involve moving the county road.
138.
Also,
Correct.
discussion with Fort County on that at
No,
this point in time.
not at this point in time.
Did they, going way back, did they charge the airport when they did kind of existing bump route? That used to be a straight road going
Yeah,
east west. So,
I wish I knew.
Okay.
Yeah, I sure wish Jim was still around because he would know the answers to these questions. I don't know when I don't even know when that road was moved. That was far before my time. But yeah, it was bumped out at one point for the existing runway.
and after 80,
That was when I was born, so that, yeah. I remember.
They just got a twist.
never.
So, any other questions?
Lindsay, when do you anticipate an updated CI?
I actually just got off the phone with my engineer. He called, he's been on vacation. And he said he had it on his to-do list to update that, and he'll get that to me probably by the end of next week.
The city would like to fold in the airport's CIP along with what the city adopts on our end, so that we have one document that covers not only the city's long-term CIP, but also the airport's.
Okay,
So if you could just send us a copy,
sure,
the updated one.
as soon as I get it.
Sure. Next question, you're a one-person operation out there.
Mhm.
What happens if you're not able to perform your functions? I'm looking at it from the financial aspects of the airport.
Sure.
What's the contingency backup plan if you're not there? Or if
Um,
there is no director out there to perform those functions, what happens?
as far as, snow removal and, storms and emergency stuff like that, my board would, I have at least 2 volunteers on my board and 1 volunteer on the airport that, already helped me very much 2 years ago with the snow removal. And so, they know how to operate all the equipment. They're a phone call away from me if it comes to snow removal and storms out there. As far as bookkeeping and things of that matter, the closest person that has a handle on what I do out there with that is you and Justin.
Okay,
You gentlemen would, I guess I could set up some kind of contingency where you would have my access and
Yeah.
and things like that.
that's good to know, just so that there's a contingency backup plan in the event that, I mean, let's say you're in a hospital or you're
Right.
not there and someone needs to handle the financial
Right.
operations of the airport in your absence.
Yeah, and I do mention that to my board
Okay.
chairman a lot. I always say, if something happens to me, this is where you can find this, because it was not easy when Jim was gone. It
Exactly.
just so suddenly, and Jim's gone, and I wasn't out there for very long, and it was really difficult to feel your way around in the dark, and I'd hate to do that to anybody else.
Sure.
So it's a great idea, and I can definitely get you.
Yeah, it's something that we should down the road, work on that cross training a little bit, just to have that backup contingency in place.
Yeah,
Just in the event that we're able to navigate through the financial software.
right. That's a great idea. Yeah, I agree.
Greg, when you said cross training, are you in the fiscal department of the airport or?
Because they don't have any backup plan. So yeah, it probably would fall on the city to ensure that the bills are getting paid, the receipts are being issued, the banking is followed through on.
Lindsay, other airports our size, is it just one person?
Honestly, I don't know the nearest airport that even can compare to us is right outside Minneapolis. And I doubt that they have just 1 employee. Some days I do feel like, well, I really need somebody out here to help me. And other days I'm like, today's a pretty calm day. I don't really, I don't see the need for any help, So I don't know what other airports our size are doing, but I do know that, I feel more and more that it's on the horizon, that I should probably, get somebody out there to help me soon because of our growth.
Yeah. So what are you guys doing to, maybe you could pay for it now, I don't know, on your budget, but what are you doing to, if you hired a person today, could you guys afford it?
Part-time, yes, but just strictly part-time, probably without
So-
benefits and things.
It would be tight.
Not for a part-time. I think for another full-time person, it would make it pretty tight. But, for a part-time person, I think that would be, detrimental.
So what would you have to do? Well, and get into that position with the public.
I think it would be something as simple as just, coming and having that discussion with the city. I'm not sure what steps Jim had to go through to hire me out there, and I've never been through that yet, but I guess I'd have to talk about, that with the correct department at the city and see maybe, Jonathan, and see what it would entail in hiring somebody part-time and getting them on actual PR. I've never crossed that bridge yet. It's always been just me, so. But if I were to start somewhere, I would start with Jonathan, I guess.
The question is, you need to increase your margin on fuel sales, or increase your hangar, or increase your lot rent, on bases and things like that. To work on additional revenue, so you could hire someone else.
Yeah, maybe. And I think hiring a part-time person wouldn't affect, I guess I would probably start with, fuel and not, hangar rent, because a lot of, the people come out to Mandan and base their aircraft out at Mandan because our hangar rent is so competitive compared to Bismarck's. So I would probably start with fuel and, maybe mark up fuel first, ever so slightly, to cover those costs. But I don't think that they would be a really great cost. Maybe the amount of help that I would need in a summertime, might be, $5,000 to $10,000. It wouldn't be much.
So would it be wise to say we'd like to have a plan from you and by the end of 2025 that would say, here's what would need to happen if you were not there?
Sure,
Just to say, so that there is some kind of a contingency plan,
sure,
if something happens, that people know where the keys
absolutely.
to
Yeah,
the castle are. Or
mhm,
how are things going at the new building? A little
excellent.
better than the old building?
Mhm.
Is that still on fast to potentially get moved out?
The old building? Yeah, there's kind of a small hiccup there. The self-serve fuel system that we currently have is hardwired with, electricity and data into the old building. And so right now I'm putting out a request for bids to different companies to try to tell me what their plan would be on, a 3-step plan. First, get the electricity and the data moved out of that building into my shop, which isn't very far away. And my shop has its own router in the shop and still be relatively close to the tank. Step 2 would be tear that building down or move that building out. There has been one person that has interest in, moving that building at their cost off of the airport. So step 2 would be getting that building out of there, and then step 3 would be, giving me a quote on what it would cost to get a 12,000 gallon avgas tank there and a 12,000 gallon jet fuel tank there, and eliminating those trucks that we have. Because right now, if there's an aircraft that comes in that needs jet fuel, it's me fueling it, because we don't have a self-serve option on jet fuel. So it can be the middle of an afternoon on a Saturday and I'm on sandbar, and I might get a phone call to fuel a jet, and doesn't always make me super happy, and there's got to be a better way for this. So those are big plans.
Question. In the last couple of years, I've been mentioning that once we get like a base aircraft.
Yeah, and that was on bill. There would be an extra $100,000 a year on the bill grant. And now next year's, last year's bill grant, we're still. Yeah, we don't have any hangar space. We're completely full with a waiting list. We have been for, I mean, like, we've been full for as long as I've been out there, and probably, I don't know how many years before.
What's your board's, suggestions as to how to build space?
Get rid of the wetland. And um, that's what we're in the process of doing right now. The only buildable space for a two-sided building is in the wetland and on the hangers, right where the wetland is. But we can't develop that space until we get that space drained and mitigated. So every project kind of runs over the coattails of another out there. And so right now, our main goal is to get the water out, which hopefully, like I said, by the end of the spring, it'll be moved out, and then maybe we'll start talks again about building another T hanger. But we did look into that about a year ago, and the cost of steel was like 3 times more than it was in prior years, or more than what it was when we built the T hanger in 2019, which is the newest T. So financially, it just didn't make sense either for us to try to build one in this climate right now.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Lindsay.
Yep.
On to human resources, Amy.
Yes, so I don't have any large personnel or machinery requests, but I tried to take the opportunity to go through some of the goals of the HR department, the status of our health insurance. Just provide updates there. So the first slide just on the left shows our staff in the department. We have 2.5 employees. So we share Jonathan with finance, he's 50% HR and 50% finance. And he's been here for a little over 5 years. And then myself, just past 1 year. And Kathy, our HR generalist, who's been here for about 4 months. And that is a newly budgeted position for the HR generalist, and has been great to speak on some of these goals and long-term plans. Would be a struggle to do without her added position. So it's been great and having her under my belt, so excited to start looking at some of these goals. And then the department overview on the right, just a general overview of the responsibilities of the HR department. Then next slide is just a recap of our health insurance. So this just is a very high level overview of what we've already been discussing for the last couple of years. We've had historically high increases that we know are unsustainable long term. The average increase from 2013 to 24 has been about 13.37%. And in 2023, it's 12.86. In 2024 was our highest annual increase of 16.77%. So we knew that something needed to change and be done to lower these annual increases and have a better way to budget for them. So in 2025, it was by commission for 2025 plan changes. Because we made changes, we saw a lower increase, 2.64%. And with those changes, we had a lower deductible. We were able to lower the copay. We did increase the out-of-pocket maximum, but we're able to offer voluntary gap claims with that for anyone that would be concerned about those raising. So overall, that went well. It was an active enrollment, so we tried to help and educate as many employees as we could to get them on the new plan. And the ultimate goal for these changes was to lower those high cost claims that we were seeing annually and have more sustainable annual increases. So we're about 1 year into the new year, and we just don't have enough data to know if those changes were effective or if they
are trending in the direction we're looking for them to. A full year of claim information costs will tell us the best, but it'll be interesting to look after 4 months and 6 months to see if we can see any positive results. So that being said, because we're so new in the year with these changes, we recommend leaving the budgeted premium increase at 10%. Brown and Brown, the consultant that works with our trust and they did provide a survey, which had projected and also previous increases from other years, and combined with pharmacy, it was about 9 to 10% that they recommended leaving that there. And then we know that other factors that can contribute to the annual increase, plan design, which we have updated, but also inflation, the overall trust performance, the city of Mandan performance, different specialty medications, and it's like COVID that you can't always plan for, but they can affect those increases. And what can be done now? So the most important piece is to continue to educate employees by promoting wellness initiatives and preventative programs that EduFit offers. Also promoting the Dallas clinic that was recently opened in 2025 in Mandan, and that is a $0 copay for any EduFit member. So that helps with our costs and our claims too. So something to continue to promote. Also, EduFit offers Medicare courses, so free counseling services to anyone on the plan, and it's one-to-one or group settings that they can talk with you about all the different options of Medicare and how to navigate those waters as individuals may be approaching that age. But also anyone, if they're not close to approaching that age, can use it for themselves if they're a member, for like their father or their mother that may be approaching the health there. So any questions on health insurance or?
Are you getting any feedback on the clinic?
On the plan?
On the clinic?
On the clinic, I haven't heard. I've heard a few people have gone to it and didn't have a problem getting in or scheduling, but not a lot of feedback.
How does it go?
I have gone to the clinic and I found the providers very friendly, helpful. I was in and out of there in no time. I know my daughter and grandkids have been there and they have been very happy with it too.
So did
And I
they have a
felt it was
doctor or nurse practitioner?
They have 2 positions. Actually, it's got communication.
Been open for about 3 weeks. 4 weeks probably.
They started in June.
Oh, this one doesn't have the positions, but they do have 2. Not sure if they were MPs or
Yes.
Ps, yeah. Yeah, for urgent care and for walk-in and also the primary position too, so.
So their hours are.
They, 9 AM to 6 PM, Monday through Friday, and then they're open Saturday and Sunday from 10 AM to 4 PM. Just a few other goals I wanted to provide an update for 2025, but also continuing long-term would be our employee handbook. We're aiming to create and roll that out for all City of Mandan employees to have a centralized place to point them for different policies and information. Then the next 2, I do have slides that accompany with them, but just as an overview, in 2024, we really tracked different data and analytics to see where we're at and where we need to improve. So a lot of different things were tracked there and calculations and different ways to do that. So that was started, but now this year and in the years to come, just looking to work off of that data and look at where we can improve and maybe dive deeper into specific departments as well. So here's one turnover data that we saw we feel can be improved. The left side shows the different turnover rates from 2020 to current. So after doing some benchmarking and trying to find an average, the average over the past couple of years from different North Dakota cities, counties, and the state was about 13 to 15%. So we know we're high, and that's something definitely want to work towards decreasing. So the first step to that would be really diving deeper into that data that we already have and looking at it each quarter, seeing if there's any trends in departments or specific information related to that to try to lower that number.
Excuse me. Is retirement part of that formula?
Yes, it is. So the calculation shows voluntary, non-voluntary, and retired. So that is included. The other data points that wanted to focus on and try to improve was the time to fill. So that's calculated by the total number of days to fill all positions divided by the total number of positions filled. And so for 2024, the average time to fill was 51 days. So the time we posted the position to that employee who was hired walking in the door averaged about 51 days, some months higher than others. And this is for all city positions. So our goal for 2025 is to do this, but also divide it out by departments. As we know, some departments take longer to fill than others. DP has more steps to complete to get through, but overall, I think we can improve this number as a city and as departments just by making internal processes more efficient, making sure we're timely, HR is timely, getting the offers and the applicants out, but working with hiring managers as well to make sure that they're timely in their turnaround.
Amy, how often does it occur since you've been here where the city is looking at making an offer to an employee that they've already found a different job?
Yeah, I guess that's hard to say a number off the top of my head, but it has occurred or where people are, you know, calling to check in on their position and we're just maybe not ready yet to make it. So I think that our turnaround time would definitely be.
Be good if you had those statistics that you pointed to the particular department, because those figures can be really skewed. And like police department, no, has high turnover rates, you know, some of them simply don't have it. So in fairness of observation, you can not only isolate the turnover things, you have to look at the departments and what social dynamics, hiring dynamics, workforce, all that stuff fit into that particular department.
Yeah. So for turnover, I did fall some department, but I think we can just even go into it deeper than where I was at. Time to fill would be a good one to pull the departments out because, like you said, we know PD is going to be higher than others. So maybe making individual goals for each departments too, because I think everyone's going to improve on that time. But yeah, I pulled the various terms, pulled them out by department too. Look at that.
So that's the days from posting to hire or from close of posting to hire?
So yeah, there's different ways you can measure it. That average way that most people do, or if you look on SHRM or any other sites for time to fill, would be from posting the position to that employee's first day. But I mean, that is something to think of too, because sometimes positions are posted for 3 weeks and sometimes they're a week. So
Same with 2 days rather than posted from separation to posting that position.
yes, this is only from the day it's posted.
Right.
So do we have a cost of item?
I don't have that information, but that would be a good data point to start tracking too. Because there's definitely costs associated with covering that role, but also getting them on board and training them. And again, depending on the department, the equipment, the PD or fire is high cost as well.
Amy, has what we've been doing that price positions that working in our favor?
I think so. I think we have a lot of free advertisement or vendors we can work with, and then we're able to sponsor on Indeed and share with social media and things like that. So yeah, in one of my last slides, there's just some recommendations on streamlining different processes for applicants. So I think that could be improved for sure. On that one, yeah, the next one. So just looking at it from an employee standpoint, from when the applicant applies to when they get in the door and start on their first day, we're directing them to 10 different places. So high on the go, they apply at form stack, they complete some information required. Adobe Sign, they're signing policies and offer letters. UKG, we're getting them into the time clock, and then we're showing them how to use it their first day. Then they're directed to AnyFit to complete a portion of their benefit. Then they would go to the retirement portal and complete their benefits there. LMS is a different link to complete their new hire courses. Then they have paper forms and various ways to find policies and different things they need. And that's just from the employee side and not including what they would get after they come to us to their departments and getting them an email and everything else. So that could definitely be streamlined and something we're working on completing and looking at, and eventually have just one place for them to go. But for now, to just try to cut out some of those different places that they have to go, that's confusing, and there's human error and risk associated with that too. So to have a more streamlined approach is another goal. And starting with looking into what UKG has to offer, that's currently who we are with for payroll and time and attendance. So looking into different applicant tracking systems through them, onboarding profiles, checklists, ways to have e-forms or different paperwork through that system to have that central location. So those are conversations we're having currently to try to find some solutions there. And then just a list, I think some of these things will naturally fall into place as we work on turnover and time to fill and streamlining processes, but this is kind of long-term goals that we're looking to work on and do in the future. Questions or things I can help clarify?
Any questions for me?
Just one comment. I already only did a similar process to this at the time to fill gap. What the process change they implemented was to not wait till the positions closed and start the interview process. Where if there were qualified applicants, we would start doing the interviews even though the position was still posted, and that helped the time to fill quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I've always done before, but I think with veterans preference and government, we have to wait till it closes.
I don't think you have to wait interview, you have to wait hire.
Well, you have to have a predetermined amount of interviews for veterans preference. So if you interviewed 3 before it closed, and then you had 6 more apply, then you're skewing that number.
Is the veterans preference just for government agencies or is it for all?
Government agencies.
Just government?
Yeah, so other employers wouldn't have to wait because that's what we've always done. as soon as they apply.
I know from some of the first time sitting on some interviews and all the information we gathered from applications, it's kind of. They look very different, not just because of the. What's there, but it seems like sometimes the forms and the uploading part. It's a lot more work than it probably should be for you to put those applications together, so.
Yes.
Be curious to see what this Gene can do, or, with Carrie, with help her with some forms, and things to electronically make that faster and get the right data there, so.
Any other questions? Okay, on to library and Barb. Thank you, Amy.
So this is basically 2025, but also 2026 and beyond. We kind of have a staff theme. It's novel connections, and our focus is really making connections that are new approaches to whether it's amongst ourselves as staff, but also the communities that we serve, businesses, organizations. We want to kind of be state of the art in as many ways as we can. That would also benefit us as a staff. So our focus is that we really want to revolutionize our capacity to serve those in Mandan as well as those in our community. So go attach yourself to a ride, because it's going to be a good one. I just thought it would be important to share some of our numbers for 2024. We increased by our visitations by 5,000. We were above we increased by 5,300 from 2023, which to us was incredible. We also did in 2023 for passports, we processed. That means that we go through the whole application and send them in. Last year we did 889, so we almost increased that by 100. But just photos, which also includes people who are renewing their passports, they mail them in on their own. Last year we did about 1,095, so also have increased that. When we started I have the record in 2019, we did 440. So this is what we did. So this is a huge benefit for us. You can see what our bookmobile is like. We have 33 stops that they make monthly, and they are continually being asked for other stops. It includes senior centers within Mandan itself, as well as the communities of Hebron, Glen Allen, Flasher, New Salem. They go to Elmont, so they're really tackling a bunch. They also in the summer do book bins for summer camps that are happening in the schools. We did 253 activities this past year. About 50% of them were for kids. Then we had another 25% of them were multi-age, so all generations could be there. And then 15% were for adults and 10% were for teens. It's hard to get those teens and tweens in there. Something that we thought was quite interesting as we look at our circulation stats. So that's what people are checking out. That's how many new people are coming into our library or the bookmobile. We actually did 6,000 or 7,000 less than last year. So we're trying to figure out why our numbers up for people coming into this space, but circulation, those people checking materials out is lower. We're not sure. We do know people are coming in and hanging out in our space. Some are hanging out for 2 to 3 hours, just with whether it's grandmother and grandkids, or other people are just spending time just visiting. So that's something we really want to focus on. We have 6 areas that we are working with. So in front of you, commissioners, I have our strategic plan, and I've kind of dispersed it out. So there are 6 areas that we came up with last year: communication, technology, and collections. These are the focus within 25 and 2026. We know we need to look at new ways to market.
because people still don't even know where we are, and I can't figure it out, but they don't know that. We know we need to add new public service computers that are on there. We also really want to enhance our opportunities to do teaching of technology skills and classes, and we can't do that if we don't have some laptops. So we are really gonna be looking for grants to support that. The other thing that we think would be beneficial is it's an RFID checkout system. So right now we have self-checkouts, but every book would have, or material would have an RFID code in there. And they could come up, they could put 10 books down and scan every single one at one time. Or we can even check them in that same way. So it's going to increase efficiency, our effectiveness. We can even scan our library shelves to see if there's books that are out of place, if they're missing. Again, that would save a lot of time on staff. So that is another goal. We would be the only ones, at least in our area, that would have that. I'm not sure about on the eastern side of the state. Our big thing for 2025 is working on our collection. Before Mary started as kind of the interim, and then I became director, it was pretty much the director who ordered everything, but nobody knows how it happened. There were standing orders, so sometimes all of these books would come in and there would be double orders, but again, nobody knew what the process was. So I have developed a collection plan. So we have teams of staff who are focused on certain areas. And this year we joined this collection HQ company, and they are helping us really do a deep dive into our collection. And if you want to go to the next page, these are just some of the things that it can tell us. So books that we might have just ordered and we know we've had on the shelf for maybe a year, it will tell us how many of them have never been checked out. So when you have 25% of new books coming in have never ever been checked out in 1 year's time, that's kind of a waste of money. And so it will help us determine that and then give us strategies. Like, do we need to market them more? Do we need to look at, is it even something our patrons are interested in? So it's going to help us focus more on how we can best spend our money for materials. And another thing that it will do is it will tell us by popular authors. Do what we have in our collection, is it sufficient or are we weak? We're doing pretty good for adults. For juniors, we're not doing so well. So we're not keeping up to date on some things. So it's going to give us more areas to focus as well as help us plan on what to budget for. And these are the other three areas that were part of our plan is building and grounds, services, and staffing. Our book drop since we have started is people hate it. They have to get out. You can't. So we got to figure out something about that, make it more efficient. And then we need to develop more of a maintenance plan that's long-term. When are the windowsills going to be painted? When are, deep cleaning of rooms? So it never gets to the level that the library had been in previously. And then, of course, we have the rice bowl area that we need to work on. Services, again, we're always looking at ways that we can enhance services for the library. This year we added laminating. We had somebody come in and they needed 600 copies of, I think we're the next UPS store, honestly, because the only next closest place would be, I can't think of it on the strip, Safe Ship. That would be the only place. And then it's again to add resources for patrons, conveniences. An example is these anytime lockers. So people would be able to have access to lockers. If they have reserved books, we could put them in a locker and they'd be able to pick them up 9 o'clock at night if they so chose, or 6 o'clock in the morning. Those could be either in the hallway or there are even some who can be outside and protected. And the last is, I think part of our goal is to always anticipate staffing needs and where that might be, and that depends upon services that are needed. or community initiatives or retirements, that kind of thing. These are some possible brainstorming things that are happening right now with the Third Street Initiative that I had attended. We're trying to think of ways that MMPL can help people on that Third Street corridor because there's just a lack of, they're not able to get to the library and receive services. So we might be doing some teaming up with Mandan Public Schools, who may have a site in that area, and maybe we can start off just having our bookmobile going down there. And then eventually maybe adding some computers for access to that. Next is the bookmobile. We have by 2029, we have got to have a new bookmobile. We'll be working with the friends on ways that we can raise funds towards that. But also with that new bookmobile, how can we amplify services? Can we even do classes, technology classes out in the community? And then last but not least is that incubator, creativity lab, whatever you want to call it, for upstairs. I put in front of you. There's also a link to this Ignite Studio. It's the closest thing that has ever come to my vision and several of ours at the library. But I also kind of set a map out. Granted, this is not what the building upstairs looks like, but it's the concept of what they're trying to showcase, such as they have fabrication labs. So that would be using your 3D printers, your laser cutters. They would have digital labs, so you could be podcasting, creating movies, and there is a need for that. So that's kind of our goal. Next. So this is what I had intended or hoped for, I guess. I don't know if the only way that we would need a technical services coordinator would be as if Susan, who is currently in that position, would retire. But I just wanted to have that always in the back of my head that those might be some positions we would be looking at. When I think of that community education coordinator, we would need somebody to be operating this space upstairs so that it's done consistently. And then as we are growing with our kids programs, we might need to focus on ages 0 to 3, 4, 5.
Is that salary, is those figures, is that including benefits or just
Yeah.
salary?
Everything, yeah. And then I put down again that RFID, the anytime lockers, and then our yeah. Next are, these are just source numbers to the 2023. And I don't need to go all through all of them. And there's a second page. That's what I have at this moment in time.
I was kind of curious on the last page of the passport. So passports have increased a lot and looks like the revenue there is quite a bit more than making copies or sending faxes. And so I think that's certainly when more and more people know that that service, when I've talked to people that are going to get thrilled that you have that. And so looking at, you know, the increase there, that's a more revenue certainly that from a time consuming standpoint, I would imagine.
Yes, yeah. And we actually talked with Greg that we might have to look and see about adding even just a 19-hour person to help, because if one, so on Saturday we had 48 people coming through the door. That was a no appointment day. They're there for 2 hours. Well, you don't want them to sit there and wait for 2 hours. So we tend to have all of us agents, and there are 5 of us on duty. But if one is sick, then that takes away. And so it just increases the time that we are there. And then the time that the people have to wait. If we could, and this is not anything or in stone yet, but if there was a way to add that 19-hour person, we could even add another day. Right now, we just can't.
How many places can you get a passport here?
Only one other place, and that would be at the county records office. Yep. And that would, in Bismarck, it's the same way. It's Burley County and then the post office. That's it.
They don't take pictures at that county.
And they don't take pictures yet. So that is something we don't want to lose. Unless we can't do it.
How much do you charge for that?
Well, so there is a processing fee, which is $35. And that's per person at or lower it. For the pictures, we charge 15, and that seems to be in the middle between what Walmart offers and what UPS store or CVS. They're like $17, $18. Depending upon. To me,
Are you stamping there?
yep, we do that too. And there are 6 of us, I think, who are able to do notary. And one for, well, Sarah, who's head of the bookmobile, she also can do that out in the
You think some of the increase in traffic has to do with the changing of hours when events are happening in the park and some people coming in maybe to use the bathroom and then they're walking around and checking things out? Do you think some of the traffic with some of those hour changes that maybe you've done for collaborative events with
Yes,
the park?
yep, definitely. Also just, we've been having the election here was huge because it got people from out in the county coming into, the library space. They hadn't even seen it, didn't even know what we had available. Some of them didn't even know there was a bookmobile coming to their communities. We've also been doing a lot of notaries in, we're going to senior centers and stuff to do notaries as well.
We charge for notary? I
No.
don't think we do.
So. I know, it's kind of a.
You're putting money away for that. Do you anticipate that to be money in the bank when it's spent?
I am hoping so, yes. So I talked to our friends because they're the ones who are gonna have to kind of friends of the library step up and help us with fundraising kinds of things that we gotta really look at that starting now. And
So we not say all that bookmobiles have a large trade-in market.
I would think not. But who knows?
Remember the old one? I don't think they're
How long have they
pay
been
someone
around?
to take it.
I think they got it in 20. Like, I can't, 2010, something like that.
That's right.
About 15 years.
More questions for Barb?
Ways you can see us raising more money? Hey, come our way.
Fees all the way across the board. That'll be. Your guys' suggestion. Okay. Thank you, Barb. Business development communications.
So we obviously, you see the screen, we just have right now, one personnel coming up, and then Gary and I will kind of go over the long-term goals we have too, but I think this would be a good year for kind of adding somebody, as all of our key projects and 3 projects will be hopefully coming to an end at that point. So I would need a lot more help by getting new businesses to generate that sales tax. If we have a cap of any sort of sales tax, probably the number 1 priority for me then.
I'll just note that, on there, we don't have this, but I have, talked to Greg and Justin about it, but, in April of 2024, our website contract ended. So to our surprise, we were really hoping to take a good look at the website and kind of think about, do we change who we're with? Do we need anything else from all of our departments for the website? And because that expired so quickly, we kind of had to act right away. So we renewed for 3 years, made no changes. So just to note on that, come mid 2027, we will need to either keep the website as is with the current vendor, or look at maybe a refresh, or depending on how the commission feels and how our departments feel the website is serving us, or what they're looking for the website to serve us as departments, but also residents. We would look at potentially a complete rehaul. That would be an option. There's a significant price difference between a refresh and a recall. So just something to keep in mind. The last time that the website was redone was in 2018. We did go through a refresh in 2022.
Carrie, is there a common request that citizens make or businesses make about hey, look, this information on this website? Yeah.
Events. Turned off along.
And still, just kind of going over some of the things that we have planned in the next 5 years. Perhaps the two things that are probably big feats for Madison and I are, Madison does plan to complete her certified economic developer certificate by 2029. And then I would like to complete the FEMA Advanced Public Information Officer training by 2027. And then they offer a master PIO certificate that I would like to complete by 2029 as well.
And I would say too, with our, departments, considering Carrie kind of like, as our staff is growing, as city is growing, the communication is kind of key to getting that done. So I don't expect her to be that person that I'm trying, the next hire in this development. I think there's so much to do for the city of communication for them that, yeah.
Where do you get that level of certification? You go to college, is online, how do you get it?
Yeah, you have to go physically to, I think like 3 different, it's a very long process. That's why I would have to be really ready for it there's not a time limit to complete. It's, go by your own pace, but yeah, you have to go to 3 different locations. It takes about 3 years.
You have to take much of a hiatus from your job to do that?
Oh, that,
You have to take much of a hiatus from your job to do that?
well, that's why I'll have another person here. So, I don't.
It'd be nice to know how long you're gonna be going to do this.
Ellen remained at work for most times, but she also included some travel and training in her budget to accomplish this. So it's kind of like getting your master's degree in development world. That certification is like that. I think Ellen did it in 14 or 18 months, it was complete, I think say balls to the wall, but it was very aggressive time frame. And there are certain classes that I believe you have to go to in person. Versus there's still quite a bit of it you can do online. It's like going to college, but a lot of it is at home. Job. OPEC, but there are certain tests that you have to take in requirements where you go past step 8 to step 8. So it's
I understand.
So with Madison certification, there is some things we'll have to budget for. And then the FEMA is free, and then they do reimburse for travel and meals for those things. The master PIO will be a 3-week course, but it will be 3 separate weeks. And then the advanced PIO, I believe, is 1 week. I'm hoping to be able to do it here in Bismarck, but I need to complete a lot of classes, about 70 hours before then. Some other things is that we were thinking of, I would really like to increase our e-messenger subscribers and decrease our print messenger. We're going to have to decrease our print all around. Print expenses are very high. I believe the messenger itself, if we continue doing what we're doing at the amount we're doing by 2030, it'll be over $8,000, probably closer to 10. Once you start doing the shipping fees and all that. Right now, we're paying less than $1,000 a year for e-messaging.
8,000 per mail.
For the whole year.
Okay,
It's a small number, but when you look at the service that we're doing for our e-version, and it's under $1,000 a year, and that includes the text message service that we have. However, that number is dependent on how many people are signed up and how many meetings are going out to. So that number will increase as the print increases. And I think you'll see some of those goals are going to align with the finance department as far as utility bills and bills and so. We're looking to update brochures, to update our promotional videos. We do have some videos scheduled. Would be a little aggressive in 2026 with that, only because the things that we can capture for those 2 videos in 2026 are there's stuff that we can then incorporate into the other videos and not have as big of a cost.
And I think we saw, well, the city saw, I think, a good reflection in how the Made in Mandan videos. So we'll kind of do that high quality videos.
And these will be projects with that we would anticipate with participation of the school district and our district as well. So these are things that we're highlighting. As Madison said, I do really see communications changing in the next 5 years. I think the need for communications citywide is only going to increase. I would hope that we can start identifying some stars in other departments that enjoy doing communications or are good at it that can help us. And then also, I've been working very closely in Madison too with Mandan High School and their CTE classes where they can help us. The one class that's been helping us so far is a social media class, and they've taken on a couple of social media campaigns for us. I am looking that once we buy our video camera and some software to get with a class there and see if they can't help us with editing and recording and kind of work on a partnership with them as well. So we'll continue seeking ways to get some help with some work that maybe won't cost us much.
And it also helps the businesses from the high schoolers work with them. We like I forget the name of the boutique, but they got more sales from the girls coming in to try on.
Other than that, some economic development software that we would look into. This would probably be
somewhat in conjunction with the MPO and CVB, just to track where people are going when they come in for the big events where they're spending money. But that is something that's kind of on our radar for what we would need to be looking at.
CDB has some software by cell phone data, track purchases, where they're happening and things like that. West Fargo just engaged a placer that does more economic development versus your business stuff. So there's a lot of information that gets gathered every time you swipe a card.
Yeah.
Or your cell phone may enter, you may not know it, but a lot of businesses will draw a circle around whatever, and every time you don't have to do anything in the store, you just walk by or walk in, it's tracking you unbeknownst to you. My brother is watching, and that's all good information. And obviously, you tell how many people are walking by your door front, but only 2 people are walking in your door. We have information like that. It's good for the business and helping to get you to walk in the door versus just walking by your door.
And that's one software you can get. I would like to get some software in the future because of all, again, the strip, the Memorial Highway will be complete. Things will need to be attracting more so, and making Mandan look like a unique good to do business. So I assume that there are other softwares out there that can help with that. See if I end up.
Third-party company to do a lot of the videography now.
So in the past, we have worked with a third party. We're kind of inundated in the Bismarck Mandan area with people that can do it. It's expensive. So we'll meet and see if it's easier for a third party to do these videos, or depending on what we're able to get and what my time looks like after we get our admin assistant hired. It could be something that could be done in-house, or maybe even with the help of Dakota access to.
And we have gotten, I just got a call the other day from a local person that does videos and he's newish. So we'll reach out to one to kind of, I think, try whatever their new company is.
I think our videos are right now. Funding. In. Not that y'all aren't wonderful starting them in the last 5 years, but it's. I think that are a good thing.
Our website is not capable of holding videos, or I don't know if I've ever seen any out there.
So we can link them to it, but they do not show up as like the embedded icon. It shows up as a link. It would be really nice to have a better functioning.
ED has hiring videos on their site, right?
I believe they do. Chris
That was
was
me.
overseeing.
Factory, right before Apple.
We have some videos on others. We have them, but they just don't look great. And I will say, like, stuff like that, the size of files and all of that slows the state of the website and people doesn't get it down.
People in general are hesitant to click on, we have a lot of links, right? And with more and more hesitation to click on just the descriptive text link versus having an embedded video, more people are apt to click on that video. A link that may or may not take you to what you're looking.
And I am hoping that, with the hire of the admin assistant, that would free up some time for me to really look at the website. I know we talked about becoming like a 2-click city. Right now, we're probably like 10 clicks deep on most of our department pages.
We have a multiple, so all of them. For every department.
Hey, sounds a segue to Carrie. Thank you,
Yep.
Madison. Thank you, Carrie.
You all want to look at your document. There's quite a bit there, so my presentation is just generalized, so it might be easier to follow along if you look at that. One second, okay.
Very
I
good
can
start. Okay, you can mention that you just helped them out. Yes. Great, we have for hiring.
We didn't have problems. So Gary.
So, starting in 2026, I'd like to get an IT FTE employee, to help with the amount of tasks needed, and to help maintain a high level of service to our employees. Starting in 2029, due to the growth and potential retirement, and the expanding, capabilities that we will be utilizing, I'm asking for a second IT person. This would help me shift focus from daily tasks to strategic department future planning. Audio visual equipment upgrades. So there are some rooms that could use some audio visual upgrades, including this room, as you can tell and have seen. These would include the commission room, the veterans room, public works, fire station. There are probably other rooms out there that could benefit from having a better audio visual system. But these are the ones that I've noticed as I've been out and about and noticed that they could use an upgrade. If those are not specifically needed at the time, we could shift them to another location. I know there's something probably over at the PD, maybe that I haven't seen conference room. But Dykshore's room that I didn't put on here, but that's another location that could also stand to get an upgrade. You know, a lot of places are moving away from projectors, going to monitors that would connect directly to a laptop. Quality is much better, sound is better. And so I think that that would be a nice thing to have. Cybersecurity, that's something that I add. And we are always going to be spending money, trying to make our systems more secure. We need to invest in cybersecurity. That would include training for staff, making sure that they understand when they get an email that it has a phishing link, that they should not be clicking on it. Security enhancements to our Office 365, which we are implementing soon. That would include blocking email from coming in that knows that has, you know, links that are bad, attachments that are bad, phishing links. And then emails that maybe say they're coming from Jim, and that's not really Jim. I know we get a lot of those. Those would get blocked. So this is some enhancements for cybersecurity, to make sure that we're on, you know, always compliant and continually looking at it to up our security standards. The device refreshes I have on your desktops, GTACs, iPads, laptops, and monitors. That's a continual thing. Those are always going to have to be replaced on a schedule so that we're not keeping devices that are old and not functioning. We need our employees to be efficient and working as best as they can. So
that's, the amount or the number of devices that I'd like to see. Some years are more than others, as, you know, I went through our inventory to see what was out there. Some of them, you know, we have more to replace in year 2029 versus in 2026. And we're doing a lot this year as well, so this is kind of spreading them out. And, just hoping that we can get those replaced on a timely fashion. The network infrastructure upgrades, so this would be getting all of our city buildings on a WAN. Fiber WAN would be nice. I know we talked about this in the past, trying to plan for it ahead of time, like if we're doing work on streets or curves or anything like that. Let's look to add fiber right away. There are companies or city buildings that are not on the WAN right now that we should look at getting done. And those would include the cemetery, the fire department, wastewater, water treatment, and other locations as well. That would make the employees much happier, I'm sure. And of course, it would be faster. We will be able to share documents easier versus emailing or using other ways of sending data back and forth.
You're saying we're gonna install our own fiber optics?
Well, hopefully we would, you know, we would utilize a company such as Beck, who would put the fiber in for us, but as we're doing the work on streets or something, you know, maintenance wise, we could look to have it installed at that point. Because when you try to add fiber, when you're not working on the streets, it's a very expensive cost. So we would want to put it in as we're doing this work to help alleviate some of that construction cost. Okay. The MFP printers, there are some that are aging out. They're, you know, they're used quite heavily, so I would like to get some of those replaced on a rollout schedule, you know, not all in the same year, but, you know, do it yearly to help with the cost of replacements.
What's an MFP printer?
Multifunction printer. So like if you scan the email, if you do copies, that's called an MFP.
Okay.
So not just printing, but scanning copies, that type of thing. The servers, we've got some servers that need to be replaced. We have our backup server that needs to be replaced in 2027. And then also we have some end of life servers that would need to be replaced in 2029. Again, these are very important. We need to make sure that our backups are working, and in case of a catastrophic event, we would have the ability to restore data. And then those end of life servers, those are ones that are currently running Windows 2019 and would need to be replaced in 2029. Small equipment purchases, so these would be essential things such as maybe a UPS, that's a battery backup, small desk printers, and anything that would be under a $5,000 cost that may arise throughout the year. And you know, that happens where sometimes we just need to spend a little bit of money on those types of things. And so I like to have that on the budget so that I am not surprised and I don't have money to buy those things that are needed. Some network switches, we have a main switch over, that is our main switch, and it is an HP that will needs to be replaced in 2026. It's end of its life cycle at that point, so it will need to replace that. That is our backbone that connects the state to the network. So it's a very important switch. And then there's some other switches out there that are end of life in 2027. There are 6 of those. Again, it's important to proactively replace these devices instead of reactively. And the reason I say that is if a switch goes down during the day. Depending on what switch it is, it could affect the entire city of Mandan, or it could affect a single branch like the city hall or public works. And so it's better to replace them on a schedule when they should be versus when they've crashed, and then nobody can do their job that day.
And there may be trouble getting them in locally, nobody would have that in stock, so you have to
Right.
go. It take days to get one from distribution.
Exactly. We don't want that to happen. Training and professional development is very important in IT, as everybody is aware, it's changing all the time. We need to keep up on what's current and what's evolving. Just to make sure that we know what's out there, what's trending, what's, maybe out. And to make sure that we're always up to date. And the last thing I had was wireless network upgrades. Everybody is dependent on the wireless more and more all the time. And I feel that it's important to spend money on making sure that the wireless works. People use their laptop more and more all the time, and they want to be able to be mobile, move from city building to city building, and be able to, connect no matter where you are. And that would be important if we were all on the same WAN, but still, I think it's important to make sure that the wireless is always working and roam through the building without having to connect to different SSIDs for the broadcast name. The efficiencies. Too far. There we go. Saying some of the things that I would like to do to make the IT department more efficient. Device management and rotation. Making sure, like I said earlier, that we're always rotating out devices that are no longer efficient and working for our users, so that we're always current and functional. Print management, I would like to see us reduce the number of printers that we have out there. There are a lot of printers that are on desks. Toner is very expensive. A lot of times the toner is more expensive than the printer itself. And it would be good for us to just print to an MFP printer. It would be cheaper and save us quite a bit of money. Also,
Got great attention.
Hey.
yeah.
The tree killer.
I heard it perk up. And then also putting all of the printers under some sort of a service contract with a company that would provide that service. What happens then is we would be able to get our toners sent to us automatically. They would take care of all the repairs, maintenance that would be needed instead of getting a bill for something. A printer is broke, they come and they fix it. And when you're on a contract, you get priority support versus, a different company that doesn't have a contract.
The last time there was a print audit done,
Don't. No,
remember? We evaluate that.
yeah.
I think when it comes time to evaluate, we're gonna all big printer for there's larger print jobs. That is a service.
It is, yes.
Yeah. I wanna
Yes.
think it's-
They can say, okay. Should that was a service contract. So the forerunners to those usually have been shipped off to its engineering or assessing. Inspections have one, that's probably not. Under contract. I'm not sure.
We have a contract.
There's some that are.
Some that are,
So
yeah.
old that they still work. But.
Probably haven't had a
I
comprehensive
don't
print
think
on
we've
it.
had a print audit. Can't say that we've ever had.
No, we have not.
And if you aren't aware, when you print a sheet in color, that sheet is 6 cents for one page. If you had one little thing of blue, it's gonna consider it a color page and it will cost 6 cents. A black and white page is 0.05 cents. So it's a lot cheaper. So it's kind of something else I would like to potentially do, but I don't know how much color is being printed. Is to say, okay, this copier is for black and white. When you need to print color, you print over here to this printer. And then we restrict it to those who only need to print color. Just to help with the cost.
In the NFP, it's set the default black and white, you have to change the color.
Yes, you can do that, depending on the printer, but yes. Data management, since I started, I noticed that there seems to be a lot of duplicate files and folders out on the servers. I would like to go through those and optimize them because disk space is very expensive. And when I say disk space, I mean server disk space. So when we're sharing out to the servers, is using disk space. And it does seem that there seems to be multiple of the same files and folders. So I want to do a thorough review of that and make sure that we only have one copy. And I'm also going to ask departments to go through their stuff and make sure that they clean out things that are not necessary.
We'll have to be cognizant of the records management
Yes.
requirements for
Yep.
electronic
Yes.
information.
Yes, and my plan would be to go through departments individually or even users individually. To make sure that, yes, we're saving what we need, and if there's multiple copies of the same thing, let's get it down to one.
Carrie, I'd like to volunteer to be last. That's 2030.
You have Jim, Jim and.
And I put 50% of capacity, administrator, 50%
Yeah.
capacity.
And then the last one is the software licensing. So I know, I don't know everything because I've only just started, but there are departments that are buying their own software. And for example, we have a user that I found out that had an Adobe license that is no longer here. So we could have assigned that license to somebody else. So what I would like to do is go through with each department what software they're buying themselves and see if it's something that I can manage for them, and that make sure that I know who it's licensed to, who uses it, so that when somebody does leave or we add somebody, that we're assigning that license to the person who's actually going to be using it. And I think we'll be saving money that way. So in conclusion, all of these items I'm asking for are critical to keep us running secure and efficient, up-to-date technology, and it will safeguard our city's IT systems, but also improve staffing positions. Any questions?
Back to back.
Yeah,
Fiber optic.
Well, that was just an example.
that was
There's
just
a lot
an
of companies
example.
that could do that.
Yep,
Isn't Midco already down?
they do.
No offense.
No.
There is fiber there, but in order for us to connect through the city, we'd have to connect to the state firewall.
I think there'd be a lot of dredging under the street and under the sidewalk. That's the problem.
For
That's why it's so
example, would
expensive.
be our neighbors here to the east, when they acquired a new building just a few blocks down on Collins, they wanted to extend their network. They had to hire a third-party company to come in, and it was big, tens of thousands of dollars to extend their network from this building a few blocks away. And so what the thought is to look at times where when we have a infrastructure project downtown where we're digging things out, let's look to lay something in the ground at that time, so we're not having to come back and do things. At least
Yeah.
some of the conversation, because the city right now has a lot of independent networks. We're not required by century code to be one way or another, like counties are. But it is in our best interest, I believe, to start consolidating networks and not having multiple different providers and points of internet providers across the entire system.
Very, for a lot of technical terms, we wouldn't have a channel on that. We would have our own fiber cable for our.
Yes, it would be a private network just for us. Yep.
The electrician, fiber contractor, Delcom, or it doesn't matter who. Somebody could put that in.
It's a long time. How does the state do it? How do feds do it? They're communicating with all sorts of buildings.
They're all on the same one. They're all on the same network.
They're all on the
Most
same
likely, yes.
fiber.
MDU over the years has laid a lot of fiber in both our community and quick carrier network provides some of that interconnectivity between different providers across. So there's a lot of different ways to do it.
We started on this path with our traffic signals with fiber. We get from our city building traffic signal. So, started down the path. Capture efficiencies if we have them.
Well, we plugged in with the. Yes, the regional, yes, market ventures, that we go on traffic signals.
Oh.
Because it's something I don't understand. This is cool. We're not, we don't have the smart traffic signals, because they don't have the ability to process information. So in some communities, when there's no traffic, we call it to light changes. Like for you,
Yeah.
special rates. Ours can't do that one yet, but it would be a nice thing. Facts are into a citywide network, so.
Thank you. Let's get back to bricks and mortar. Yes.
We're not buying any clouds. CD.
Well, I just want to start with saying thank you, Carrie, because before she switched out my computer, when I restarted my computer, I think the last time I counted it was 15.5 minutes. So it's a good coffee break time, but if you're not expecting to restart your computer, it's kind of annoying. So she's helped with everything I've ever needed, and I've come to her a lot since she's been here. So thank you for your knowledge and your help around here. It's been very helpful. So this is pretty quick. We have a transfer to digital I had in there for 2026. Part of that is kind of getting taken care of. We have our existing permit technology expired December 31, be upgraded. I think this all ties into kind of Carrie's point of just trying to upgrade and get with, I don't want to say get with the times, but we also just decided to drink the Civic Plus Kool-Aid based on the fact that the city uses a lot of their services already in the fact that we have parts of that. But along with that, in our new system that we got from them, includes some of the switch to digital, but also the connection to the website and then to the municipal code. And that tie-in is, for our department, pretty important. So it was one of the reasons, but that's in there and I have it there, but I'm really not going to use that 7,500 because we've kind of already done that with our new program. So we had that in 26. The other one would be a vehicle replacement in 27. Kind of the same situation as Kim. We've got a couple vehicles that our inspectors use. Those are kind of daily drivers. One would be based on possibly a future retirement, and I don't know when that date is, but it's not something that it needs to be done in 27. I say that because I also have a vehicle, so it's not anything that we're gonna need immediately. So it's kind of, I don't want to say wishy-washy, but I put it in there because of the replacement that we would need for Steve's vehicle, which has about 115,000 miles on it. So that's what's there for that. There are several departments that end up using the other vehicle we have at City Hall because they don't want to take Jim's vehicle. So if there's not a town trip or something like that, a lot of people will ask, and we'll always oblige to let them use the vehicle that we have. So between our department, there are 3 vehicles. So that's one of the things. If you want to go to the next slide, we'll tie into what I'm talking about. We have our software. One of the other things that we've been doing, I want to just jump down since I'm talking about the vehicle maintenance and driving savings. We picked up a state fleet vehicle for Carolyn and got her a new Escape. And the vehicle maintenance between a new vehicle and an old one is very significant, more than I even thought. Just having a new vehicle around has been really nice. I think we probably put on, the inspectors probably put close to 6,000 or 7,000 miles on the year, just driving around town. So it's a lot of daily driving, which is good. One of the efficiency things that we work on, and it's been really nice, just working with Kimberly in the assessing department. If there's an inspection that needs to be done where she talks about doing zone review and going out and needing to look at all these places. Well, if we have a new place or a new house permit, they don't have that on the books yet. So a lot of times we will grab them and say, hey, we're going to a house final. You guys want to come? And just that repetitive, getting it on their calendar as well to make sure that they can keep their files and things up to date. So I feel like our departments work really well together and try to save on the driving where we can. If somebody's going somewhere or in the area, we'll just hop in because it's a lot easier and works out. We end up driving a lot of different places in town, especially where there's new construction. So it works out really good. I mentioned the new permitting software. We're learning a lot from it since the start of January. There's still a lot to learn, but the biggest thing is the online capabilities. We talk about it in technology. We talk about it in all of the other departments, but one of the big ones is paying online. And that's already been utilized and we've seen it, but to be able to pay for a bill or something that you need done and just get on and pay for it is way easier. It saves our staff a lot of time in trying to track everything down and call and get all the things that you need to get payments done. So, which we're still able to do, but I see us utilizing our new permit software a lot more for that. And the tying to that, I know we've talked about it, we haven't used it yet, but there's a lot of other fields, a lot of other areas of the city that this software can be used for. One that we're probably looking at would be like some of the annual licensing fees the city has. We've done it, moved it over for one of like the sign hanger permits as a yearly fee that can be done, but this software also does that. So we're hopefully going to be able to incorporate some of those other yearly things into the system, have people log in, sign in, hey, this is due June 30th every year, you got to do this. So get them on the repetition schedule and work with that. So hopefully that it's not just for permitting. So hopefully we can utilize that a little better. Another one that we have done just efficiency wise, we have not traveled, I don't want to say out of town, but out of state for a few years now. There's requirements that our inspectors and myself have to keep up our certifications. And we just it's so much easier to do it online. Jump on and be able to do online courses. We've done that the last few years, so we haven't had to take trips out of town to get training and other things. We have our local NDBOA, North Dakota Building Officials Association, puts on conferences twice a year, and I've been able to utilize those, and it helps a lot. And just the networking as well that you can do within the state. We have a good group of building officials, inspectors, architects throughout the state that you can learn a lot from. So that's been a great efficiency for us, and we're going to continue to do that just with the capabilities of online, and basically since COVID being able to do that. One of the things that we tripped up on a couple of years ago was the ISO rating. And I think part of that was due to the fact that there wasn't the availability to get all the online classes. We lost a percentage point, which for me is a really big deal, because that's insurance rates for all of our citizens in the city. We don't know exactly, and Mitch has a fire ISO rating that they've been doing well with. And we have a building ISO rating, and they're separate. And we know that they affect the rates for insurance, and to us, it's a big deal to make sure we maintain lower rates. So we've been keeping up now on our training so that, and I anticipate either this summer or next, they'll be doing another building ISO rating for us, so that we can keep that up and lower the number that we had from this last go around. So it's one of our big projects. Speaking of projects, a lot of new things coming to town. I know Madison spoke of just the strip project and the things that are coming up with that. We've noticed some changes already in pulling of, or going to start pulling of permits during that project. There are significant projects coming up for those that are knowing they're needing to upgrade and wanting to, with the project happening, and are taking steps in doing that. I know one of the car dealerships is going to be probably redoing their whole facility. An auto body shop. There's other facilities that are going to make significant improvements while there's significant improvements on the road project. So for me, that's a positive to look forward. I know there's been a lot of meetings and talks about, how this is going to hurt a lot of people, but from what I've seen and the anticipation of this coming, now that they know that there's a date in place, there's been projects coming forward and questions asked. What can we do? How much can we go? How far can we get to the edge of the line? Where's the new line at? Where is that building edge? Where can I go to? So those are good things. So some positives to look forward to. Big one for us that we've been going through right now, obviously, is the Lumens facility. That's the biggest project to date that Mandan has had. There's gonna be a lot of traffic coming to town starting April, May. A lot of trucks, a lot of moving of dirt. They're anticipating over 100 and some people at that site. I know the school site probably had close to 100 every day. So
Cheaper for the local sales tax.
yeah, so we should see that coming. So there's other things too, significant improvements to be made. We're getting several new projects for commercial, and I'm really excited about that. We need to have upgrades to buildings. I know there's different programs and they're working on things with Renaissance and different things, but all these things tie together to make this city go and tick and keep moving forward. And part of that is going to be some of these renovation projects that need to happen in these old buildings that need sprinklers and need other improvements to be made. So we're working hard at that, trying to get these people up to snuff that come in and do that. And other than that, I don't have any other asks, but for me, it's more of an update and to say we're moving forward and we're going to need more houses. There's more people moving to town. It's on a stepped basis, and it's been slower the last few years with, 50 or so permits for new houses, but it's gonna step up. It's gonna have to, so it's coming. Any questions?
Thinking on the sales tax on the women's facility, I think. And the check with Nancy, make sure we submitted that parcel is now fully annexed. City tax department, so they know they can move there on. Things money to us versus. So
Has that been filed? Okay, I didn't think so.
I think the commission will follow final.
with that memory bank has deliveries there. So
Jordan. Reagan, Justin, finance.
Yes.
Okay, the mission of the finance department is to provide accurate and timely budget, accounting, and financial reporting information to citizens, city commission, and departments in accordance with city policies, state laws, and federal regulations. This page. Finance department is responsible for maintaining a citywide financial system to support the city's operations. The department provides the following services: cash and treasury management, accounts receivable, utility billing, special assessment payments and balances, accounts payable, capital assets and debt management, budgeting, accounting, and financial reporting. The continuing goals of the finance department are to prepare accurate and timely financial information, to deliver efficient and quality customer service, demonstrate accountability and transparency, to maintain adequate internal control procedures, to ensure compliance with various policies, laws, and regulations, and to develop financially sound budgets for providing city services at a fair and reasonable cost. Currently, the finance department consists of 5 employees. Myself, finance director. I've been with the city of Mandan for 32 years. Assistant finance director, Justin, has been with the city now for 1 full year. We have a senior accountant who has been with the city for 3 full years. We have a senior accounting technician who has 5 years of experience with finance department. That position is split 50-50 between the finance department and the human resources department. And we also have a senior accounting technician with 1 year experience with the department who is responsible for utility billing. Some high-level statistics of the finance department. We manage and oversee a $38 million budget. The total city budget comprises of about 23 separate funds, and some of the funds have multiple departments within them. City finance department levied almost $9 million in property taxes for 2024. And we also certified almost $7 million worth of special assessments to the county. And collectively that encompasses about 100 ongoing infrastructure projects that we are assessing. Utility billing generates about a little over $13 million. They are the biggest cash register for the city. That's a very important revenue source. Utility billing department generates a little over 7,400 monthly utility bills. Of those, the city receives on average about 3,450 electronic payments. And we have about 40 to 45 customers who will come to our window per month to pay their utility bill.
Does that decrease no time?
It much. Yeah. Some of the efficiency strategies of the finance department, we want to continue to promote the e-payment options to our utility billing customers. We also want to continue to promote our online payment option for special assessments. It's critical for us in order to establish a special assessment inquiry dashboard on the city website to reduce the number of phone calls and email requests for information. We get lots of contacts from banks, realtors, customers looking for special assessment information. They want to know the detailed special assessment projects that are on their property. They want to know what the outstanding balances are. They want to know the payment terms. If they would have a self-serve ability on the city website, that would significantly reduce the volume of contacts that we have to make in that area. By doing that, once they know what their payment information is, what they want to pay off, they would then utilize that online payment option more frequently. So we would be processing less checks that would come in the mail. We want to continue to encourage city staff to work with their vendors to see if they will accept city credit cards as payment in order to reduce the number of checks that we have to issue to vendors on a monthly basis. Typically what happens for some of our large purchases, it costs them a fee to accept our credit card. And so many times for some of the large purchases that they decline accepting our credit card because of the fees that they would be charged. But we always want to encourage to increase the volume of that of the city credit cards, because that obviously reduces the volume of manual checks that we have to generate on a monthly basis. And finally, we want to reduce the time that city staff takes to having to code vendor statements and invoices by looking at reducing the number of our budget line items to consolidate those so they're more manageable, to maybe remove some of the budget line items that don't have high dollar amounts, maybe consolidate budget line items that are similar, like we have one that is for unleaded gas and one is for diesel. It really, to us, it doesn't matter. Fuel is fuel. We have the separation out at the city shop, but to have separate budget line items, that would be an example of where we could consolidate and just have one fuel code for budgeting purposes instead of two separate ones. Future projects in the finance department. The finance department is due to update its financial policies for the city. After going through this 5-year long-term financial plan process, we will then pivot and we will ask the city commission if they would like to expand that to a 10-year financial plan. And then down the road, we are going to need to replace our legacy financial software that right now is in the cloud. And
Far down the road.
far down the road.
Far down the road.
Oh, I'm sorry. Probably within the next 5 years. The reason why we originally had it targeted a couple of years ago, but we felt that a long-term financial plan process was probably more important, and we didn't have the full-time IT support that we have now. Gonna let Carrie get caught up with IT citywide, because that's gonna be a big lift on her end to help us coordinate replacing that legacy financial software. So we're gonna have to pencil that in, but want to give Carrie a chance to get caught up with the day-to-day IT needs of the city. So it will be put on the radar down the road. We just don't know which year yet. That is it. Oh, one more. I forgot the last one. Could you? The years and the miles and the hours are starting to accumulate. So I intend going into 2029 to step down as finance director and hand the baton to someone else. If the city would so choose to still utilize my services, I would be willing to, in a different capacity in the finance department, be willing to work 3 days a week, be able to impart my experience and my knowledge and my ability. Don't know exactly what that role would look like, but I could see myself assisting the finance department in the areas of financial reporting, audit preparation, budgeting, and long-term planning. Who knows, maybe get to 2029, the city may say, no, we're good. You can enjoy your retirement. We don't need you. That would be okay too. But just to let you know, I would be willing to continue to stay on for 3 days a week, but in a different capacity, no longer the director of the department.
The price that same, the one with you and Jim both.
Well, thank you for that, Justin.
A little bit there.
Is that a hint or?
Greg, are you ever gonna, put up my portrait like you did
Yes,
at the last day?
yes, yes.
Back to, I don't remember the terms. You're writing a lot of checks still, let me see.
Fewer,
You're writing a lot of checks.
not a lot like we used to, but if a vendor doesn't take, credit card,
What are the payment methods?
well, you would have electronic.
Yeah.
We do ACH.
Yeah.
We really haven't dabbled in a lot of that yet because of cybersecurity issues. So we haven't,
Okay.
we do that with our bond payments.
Yeah.
We do use electronic payment for those. So we are utilizing electronic.
So what percentage of our current bills are electronic payment?
I have no idea.
How many checks are we writing?
I would have to look. Don't have that number.
And then we have a city credit card and just the bonds.
I don't think so. Pretty sure it does.
Andrew gets.
Yes.
I was looking at his menu.
Right now. So they're accepted after that, 2.5%.
3%. It's kind of customary. We try to push our city credit cards as much as possible, but the fees are on their end. And we would rather not pay those fees.
Right.
Especially for large purchases.
Yeah, the credit card thing is gonna be a problem otherwise, because even certain private businesses are starting to charge additional percentages. If you use a credit card, and we're supposed to go to a cashless society, but they're kind of reversing to encourage you now not to use credit card for the costs, but yet they don't want you to write out a check either.
Whether it's credit card or ACH payments, that's the direction we're looking for. It's how can it be more on an electronic basis rather than physical check?
Right.
So what's the timetable for you to feel secure to do ACH?
We haven't developed that timetable yet.
That depends a lot on the security of the systems you get into. That's why I don't do electronic banking strictly for that, because I don't trust the integrity to that degree of doing that.
So we have limited our transactions in that manner for the state of North Dakota and for our local banks where we have to make bond payments. We utilize the ACH.
And then we'll be working with Gary and IT department on developing that strategy and plan on how fast we can go.
If we tried a lot of our larger checks going to contractors, street projects, engineering firms, things like that, and for one instance where we tried to get Northern to take it electronic and maybe 1 to 2%.
Right.
They lose, they'd rather have a check. So I don't know, like Greg said, checks we have going out, but we still have a lot of checks coming in that are manually processed. So when we talk about how can we increase the number of people that are using smart home, pay their utility bill. It's a big push. So that you make it 7,400 accounts times 12 months times We're still getting probably 5,000 checks a month.
That's all good. You know, it's 50-50 right now.
And on the investment side, 99% of our funds are invested in some kind of interest-bearing account or a CD. So we have very little cash sitting on the sideline that's not earning interest for the city.
Greg, you know, instead of 3,400 online, it can come in and the rest are mail.
And we're probably maybe due, I mean, we have it out there.
Yeah.
But you know, we can't force people to, you know, to go online, but we think that as the years go on, that more and more people will be utilizing more of the online pay, electronic pay option, because checks are just going to be a thing of the past.
Our representative from NISC, we have our utility bill in Southwood, actually here tomorrow. And some type of marketing campaign to try to trigger people to sign up for SmartUps.
So it does cost us. Like, we want to encourage folks to take our credit card. Because it costs them at their end, it's easier for us to do that, but when we take utility bill payments, it costs us on our end. We don't add that percentage on, so if you got a bill, we're not giving you for $3,
No.
which we end up paying, but we're only netting 97, so that we want to encourage you because it certainly costs a lot more than $3 to get that check, physically open it, scan it, verify it through the account, and then do all the reconciliation that happens manually versus taking payment. I think I got mine last night within probably 10 seconds. I paid my water bill there.
And you can just do recurring payments, so you never.
Unless you take the human error potentially out of it too.
Yep, yes.
But can we do a better job at how we move money as far as paying invoices and statements? Absolutely. And I think with Carrie, we'll be able to utilize our IT to make sure that we have the proper security in place in order to utilize that technology more fully to vendors that are outside of the banking and state agency network. There's always room for improvement.
You probably thought about this before, but you don't do the utility bill credit for people who switch to smart.
We did that at one time. Yeah, we did.
There's just some people like, obviously, that always have that, love to see their hands back.
We had that conversation with NISC too. People on your order and Sioux bill, it's like $1 credit that you pay online. So that is a conversation we had with NISC, I think a year ago, we had our checkup. So it's
Yeah.
a matter of how we look at that.
Who administers smart phone? Is that NSC?
NISC.
NISC. So they don't care.
No,
Don't go away from the.
They used to when they printed. They used to print a lot of the bills for everybody, but they're out of that place.
Anything else?
Very, very jealous of my whopping presentation and the colorfulness of it. So. Relax. I didn't put in a vehicle replacement because everybody so much loved the 2008 Ford Expedition that the police department issued vehicle to start out with. Still had some probably drive vomit. And then went to the fire chief and then eventually made it to our world. Really the big thing in the admin world is the city hall renovation or replacement. We were interested through our EPA brownfields grant, have been able to tap a lot of different sources for technical assistance and help. We did ask them back in final report in 2003 about funding and financing what they call the Mandan Civic Center or City Hall building, and went through a lot of processes, some different design and layouts and what City Hall could be. But really, when we get down to it, we had also come up with an issue regarding whether we can actually tear this building down or not. We had hoped to utilize some of our brownfield money to obtain an attorney general's opinion on what we can do, because there's a lot of, when it was built, there was a trust created for the benefit of this building. So if we can't tear it down, our options are pretty limited. Then we're staying here and we're renovating. So we hoped again to have that opinion paid through that brownfield grant. I think we're going to be able to do that. Still kind of iffy on that. I've asked Attorney Oster to review that situation. She has to her extent, but again, full title opinion and search will that will take one of those decisions away on whether you tear down, renovate, or go somewhere else. So it kind of moves that one off the table. Kind of timeline for if we are to renovate or tear down either one. We would be looking at requests for qualifications for architect, would also like to do a construction manager at risk. I think that's a good thing to do on a project. Anticipated project on this size, so we get a lot of different options. It's not just the architect telling us what to do, because there's no real incentive for the architect, because their fee is based on the percentage of your project. So the higher dollar your project, the bigger fee they get, where they go. So we want some checks and balances that. Again, in 2005, bring to move those two forward. These draft plans, estimated cost, and then again move into decision points of, all right, is it time to move forward with the final design bid? We'd have to look at a temporary location. A lot of folks are saying, well, just move across the street to Wells Fargo. I think most folks don't know that I think half of the upstairs is taken up with their HVAC system, so there's not as much room in that facility as people think. Go out to bid again, find a temporary location, move out. Build time, I think, has been estimated to be 18 months to 24 months. So we'll be out of this facility for 2 years. So you're paying rent probably somewhere else. We've talked about Ladser and being a potential move out. They would have, I think we've got 22,000 square feet there. That would be, I guess, in the world of worlds, I think those folks would move out in a heartbeat if we moved in. There's not many there. Seems to be adequate size. Again, the temporary move out will pay for 18 to 24 months, and it's back and occupy after a month, 18 to 24 months construction project on this rehab. So the estimated cost on this, back when we did this study, I think we're about $13 million. You add on to that the soft cost of moving out, renting space, moving back, and another $500,000 to $600,000 on that, probably up to about $14.5 million to do this spot. Mitch is giving me going to be more than that right now, depending on what happens with steel and concrete prices. But again, it's not going to be cheap. This would be like we did with the fire station one in 2001, was a complete gut job. That rough electrical windows, pick your favorite, everything in this building would be replaced. The HVAC system is talked about. Part of it's steam, part of it's hot water, part of it's forced air. Pretty tough to regulate. You know that. Not sure if anyone here does not have a space heater.
I don't know what you did.
Could use one right now.
Our office is better this year than it has been in the past, so whatever you.
Space
whatever
heaters
was
and
done.
dehumidifiers. One of our boilers went out this summer, so another 2 boilers, right? 3. Again, there's enough issues with the current facility. We've had Department of Homeland Security come through and do kind of a walk through audit and point out all those windows that are vulnerable. And we have many out that are, it's like you split level house, parking lot back here, so. If someone would want to do something nefarious, it would be very easy. I think having locked doors has been somewhat inconvenient for the public, has been very comforting for everyone who's in this building. Budget amendment last week, move forward on this security enhancements and easier ways to hard access in and out. So again, we talk about a $15 million project. Really, we have $6 million, which will grow a bit at 4.3338%, 6 months. And the remediation trust funds that we have, kind of earmarked $5 million of that money to go toward the city hall. So we should, right now we have about $6 million in there. Keep at least $500,000 in there for another couple of years as a protection system should something happen. Diesel fuel pop up. We have some money in the supplemental projects trust, which is another fund that was created in recent settlement for, I think there's $238,400,000. Which we do have a decent amount of seed this project. So be a good start. We have funds with the half-cent sales tax that was passed in June for city hall accessibility and their target $1.5 million or $2 million of those funds. Accessibility being elevator. That elevator would go, I'm guessing, $2 million. So again, we have some funding sources for that. That would include, fire station and things like that. You might have to bond over 30 years to make that cash flow out. Some funding sources for that. Time for this building to meet the sledgehammer. Interior wise. Andrew's going, no. But I was with you for a minute.
And I think this building is a community hall, then the community impact.
We did the interview with KFR last week, and I was wishing they showed. We took them through the guts and the balls to see all a lot of questions on your electrical. That's probably the original electrical system in the back.
Did you find the sailboats?
We did find the sailboats
Yeah.
that are above Amy's office, HR, that are painted walls for swimming pools. So if you want any pictures, so it's not his. But again, I think this is the big thing that I for us. So I don't think any significant improvements have been made to this facility since the mid-70s. City Hall, fire station, police station, part of public works, all resided in Station 1. City Hall was over here in 70s.
Yeah, mid-70s, right?
Malcolm Brown's Reign of Terror, but they may cut a lot of corners. I'll say on heating and cooling that it should probably not be balance. A lot of this depends on what happens in legislative session as far as checking on the property tax dollars, sales tax dollars. We're gets ugly head again today about state capping the amount of local sales tax dollars that community holds. What's it? 3%, 2.25 right now. That got killed maybe, but I think it came back today. Here. What made it out of committee, I'm not sure, but there's again trying to sales tax increase. From something like that. Wastewater treatment. But like I said, I think it's time for City Hall get some attention. Fire station, got another fire station. Law enforcement center, seen improvements, with jail and out, things there. Public works. Station. We got optimization phase 95 at the water treatment plant. Which created some office space. So. You're welcome for the significant amount of colors I put in the timeline here, so don't anyone try and copy it. All good.
Any questions for Jim? Is there any other business? Future meeting dates for the Board of City Commissioners, Tuesday, February 18th at 5. That will be a regular meeting. 5 o'clock. Tuesday, February 25th at 5:30, that's a special meeting working session. Tuesday, March 4th at 5:30, that's a regular meeting. Tuesday, March 14th at 5:30, that's a special meeting working session. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.